Hello everyone, I'm Adam Chu. Today I'd like to share some detailed analysis of CoWoS L. As you can see, this diagram shows the NVGB200. We can see that a GB200 essentially on a single board and PCB card actually includes two CoWoS L. That is one CoWoS package, so it has two CoWoS L. Within those two CoWoS L packages, we can see two GPU packages and 8 HBM chips bonded together. So this is a CoWoS L type package. Below this is a CPU, and next to it are 16 LPDDR5 DRAM chips. Alright, let's look further. What does the CoWoS L structure consist of? This is a diagram provided by TSMC Symposium, dividing it into a top layer and a bottom layer. The top layer is the upper part, where we can roughly identify this as the computing die. Next to it is HBM, high bandwidth memory, which is the top layer. The bottom layer is divided into, first, the IVR, which is a regulator, then the active die, which is a partial function memory controller placed within it. And this LSI die is responsible for connecting the HBM and the computing die. Then the DC-DC die, which is purely a power die located here, used for voltage regulation, providing capacitance. The OE die is still somewhat ambiguous at the moment, considering currently available CPO. NVIDIA's Spectrum or Quantum switch will be on an ABF substrate, but in the future, it will be placed inside the interposer, meaning it will also become part of the bottom layer. So we see it like this. Let's continue. We can look at the CoWoS summary. There are three types of CoWoS: S, R, and L. I have analyzed them in detail in previous videos. Let's briefly revisit. SRL is the best of all because its function and scalability are superior. Therefore, all of TSMC's production lines will prioritize CoWoS L in the future. Now why? What are the drawbacks of CoWoS S? It's because it's chip first. So generally speaking, its yield, etc., because it's more mature now, the yield can be achieved and R can also perform better. However, the current yield of CoWoS L is still slightly lower. But gradually, I believe that within the next few years, 1 or 2 years, it should be able to reach 99%. The yield will also reach the same level. So at that time, we'll see its scalability and the overall functionality for customer use will be paramount. CoWoS L is simply the best. Alright, let's analyze why we need to transition from CoWoS S to CoWoS L. This was presented by Mr. Hao of TSMC at VLSI in 2023. I think he explained it very well, so I'll briefly refer to it. First, what is the roadmap for CoWoS L? It's getting bigger and bigger. The area is getting larger and larger. Why does it need to get bigger? Because by making the area larger, it can accommodate more and more GPUs. More and more GPUs mean higher computing power, and more HBM means higher memory bandwidth. So it computes faster, and the DRAM storage capacity, like a deeper and larger reservoir, allows for better performance in generative AI. So the trend is continuously towards increasing size. This chart very clearly explains it has laid out all its specifications. For example, from previous SoC performance, it's a path to advanced processes from 7 nm to 3 nm. The interposer size is constantly increasing and HBM is continually iterating. We can see its speed is constantly rising. The number of HBM is also increasing, so its density, its capacity, is also continuously improving. Alright, let's take a look. This chart is about a 3x reticle CoWoS S. It essentially says its size is 53.8 by 50.2. That's approximately 2,700 square millimeters. In such a large scenario, there's a problem. The reticle cannot expose the entire area in a single shot. Why? Because the maximum size of ASML's reticle is 26 millimeters by 33 millimeters. As we just saw, this area has already exceeded the limit, so it can only do one thing: take 4 reticles and stitch them together to form a field. Then it can become as large as 52 millimeters by 66 millimeters. So it means my mask 1, 2, 3, 4 are used to form a field. When stitched together, this forms a field, meaning my interposer size can be this large. Alright, but when the reticles overlap here, here, and here, it results in double exposure. So if there's an overlap in the pattern here, the photoresist shape will be distorted. Even here, this is the worst case. It will be exposed 4 times. So there are significant restrictions here. No patterns can be placed. It's a forbidden zone. Okay, that's its basic principle. I must use a 4x stitching mask to create a large interposer size. So, exposing 4 times with this reticle is very slow and achieving a good yield is difficult. This is its prerequisite. So CoWoS S using 4 reticles for stitching is not ideal, but it's currently unavoidable. Ultimately, TSMC's CoWoS L does not use this stitching. It switches to Canon, which is very large at 1x. A reticle as large as 52 by 66 is done in one go, exposed just once. But the drawback is that the line width cannot be too small. The smallest and finest line width is only 5 microns. This is its concept. Alright, let's continue. What's very important in interconnects, such as MI, is that it's a crucial choice. Currently, it's actually getting higher and higher, already more than 5 layers. For example, GB300 now uses 6 layers of MI. Due to the lower resistance of MI, its overall contribution is that it offers less impedance to the signal. So it's beneficial for my signal, the D2D signal, or the HBM signal. The current capacitance has reached 1100 nanofarads, and it will continue to increase in the future. This is the TSV within the interposer, and this one is the embedded DDC, and this is the interconnect. It's a dual Damascene interconnect. Okay, so you can see that this LSI die is responsible for transmitting signals, which means conveying signals between the SoC computing die and the HBM. This diagram analyzes the LSI die's cross-section in more detail, including TSV, interconnect, and dual Damascene interconnect. If you're interested, you can look at this diagram. I've drawn out its cross-section to show which part is which. For example, this is the LSI die, which is quite thin, about 50 microns thick. Okay, this is the computing die, and this is the HBM. It relies on my LSI die to connect to the physical layer here for signal transmission. Now about why we need the DTC die and why it's necessary. Because the DTC die is excellent for improving power integrity. It can stabilize voltage. We know that current generative AI has very high power consumption, exceeding 350 watts, and some are even reaching 1700 watts. In such a situation with such high power consumption, my DTC has a storage capacitor that can produce a very good effect on dynamic voltage regulation. My voltage control, dynamic voltage, will achieve significant improvement. This is very important. So why can't the DTC in CoWoS S be further scaled up? The reason is that the interposer is a continuous component. It's very large, and if even one defect occurs, that die becomes unusable, rendering the entire product scrap. Its yield becomes increasingly difficult to achieve in such a large die. So as you can see very clearly in this chart, the capacitance, its DTC capacitance, even if it's CoWoS S and you try to make it bigger, the overall capacitance just can't increase. It's a yield problem. It cannot be made. The only solution is to break down this DTC die into smaller pieces, make it smaller, and then stitch it back into my bottom layer, because smaller dies have better yield. Every single die is a known good die, a tested known good die, so its yield can be improved. Therefore, the capacitance of CoWoS L will continue to increase. And another important advantage of CoWoS L is that when high-frequency signals pass through its TAV, through insulator via, under high-frequency signals, its decay is much smaller than that of traditional silicon TSV. This is also due to parasitic capacitance effects. Just remember this clearly, because parasitic capacitance effects cause my high-frequency signals in CoWoS S to decay, whereas high-frequency signals used in CoWoS L will not decay as much. So to summarize, why do we need to use CoWoS L? Firstly, it's for better yield, whether it's for interconnects or DTC. Secondly, it's for better yield, whether it's for interconnects or DTC. Secondly, I need to increase wafer throughput because a 4-time stitching mask is too slow, and it's not good for my yield. So I changed this to a 1x Canon reticle, making it larger so I only need one exposure. Thirdly, because I use TMVE, its insertion loss is low. For high-frequency signals, such as on some high-speed SerDes, my signal quality will be better. Fourthly, it has better power integrity. The reason is that I inserted the DTC die, and the yield is good, so after increasing the overall capacitance, its power integrity also improved. Fifth is scalability. Because my bottom layer's die can accommodate IVR, DTC, active die, or silicon photonics components, this means its future scalability is excellent. Okay, that concludes my sharing for today.